Now tonight when I go on stage, I'm going to be Alice, and I can't wait to be Alice. But during the day, I walk down Yonge Street, I go to the movies, I do everything I want to do. People go, hey Alice, hey, how you doing? Good to see you, blah, blah, blah. Now tonight when they see me, they're going to go, I can't be the same guy that we talked to today. Because tonight I'm going to be this monster.
We got to get going.
No, stick around. Hang out with us.
We're not worthy! We're not worthy! We're not worthy! We're stuck!
When you touch me, when you hold me, when you kiss me, it's just like Novocaine.
Since 1969, Alice Cooper has pioneered and perfected the art of grandly theatric rock and roll designed to shock. It's been said without Alice, there'd be no Kiss, no Ozzy, no Marilyn Manson. Over 30 years on, Alice Cooper is described as everyone's favorite grown-up in teenage clothing. That's why everyone loves Alice. It's Alice being Alice. This is the story of Alice Cooper.
Damn trick-or-treaters,
Hey,
here you go.
Hey!
Oh, there you go.
Food. Right
Come on in, Bill. Hey, so this is the bus.
This is the home away from home.
This is where we live for 6 weeks at a time.
Well, what do you do to personalize it?
We always have pictures of ourselves because we have such egos. It's amazing. Of course, and we don't go anywhere without. Or, how can you live without this news? World's fattest cat has world's fattest kittens.
And it's all true.
It's all true. So look at this, see? I mean, you wonder where we get our ideas. Okay, this is the garbage section, where when you're hungry at about 3 in the morning, you come in and just go like this. I'll go back to my bus now. And coffee, bathroom, anybody in there? This is just people that show up on the bus. Brittany, you know, she have to throw her off the bus every night.
Can I ask about this really
This is my
hot
daughter.
babe here?
This is my daughter, who you'll see tonight on stage. And
doing what your wife used to do.
she does exactly the same thing. Only now she plays a different character. Her name is Cheryl. I've been married 25 years to her.
Excellent.
No, I've never cheated on my wife in 25 years, which may be a record. Okay, now these are the bunks. There's probably a story behind each bunk that I can't go into for obvious reasons. Every bunk has its own TV. So you could sit here and watch a football game, or you can watch a movie, or a videotape, or a DVD, or whatever you want to do. This is Slave of the Cannibal God with Ursula Andress and Stacy Keach. This is the high art that we watch. This is the casino, as you can see right here. It's officially a casino now. A lot of poker right here. A lot of big games go on right in here. And these are the Alice Cooper personalized chips. See, look at that. These chips go all the way back to 1973. These were on the $1 Billion Babies tour, these chips were. $1 billion baby. This is great. Look at this, AC. Wow. It's a $5 clay chip. What's a tour without melatonin? If you can't sleep, you take one of these natural melatonins, puts you right out. And then, of course, there's the closet with all the clothes. Oh, and a present for you. Here's a present for you. It's the Bruce Lee shirt. Huh? This is for you. That's yours. No, that's yours. One of the guys in the band presented it to me, and I played poker in it one night and lost about $80. So I figured I'd give it to you.
So if we ever get into a high-stakes game...
Yeah, don't wear that, okay? Because it's really not lucky at all. So this is actually where the band meets after every show and talks about who made what mistakes. And so the meeting doesn't last very long because it's a very good band.
And I always said that we were the band that drove the stake through the heart of the Love generation, you know, and it was true. People were bored with peace and love, and we were certainly the next thing.
Welcome to my nightmare. I think you're gonna like it. I think you're
back there? Straight ass rock and
Real
roll?
Detroit rock and roll, real MC5, Stooges, Ted Nugent, Alice Cooper. I mean, we were inseparable. That was like the early 70s Detroit sound. And yeah, there was a definite sound there. Other than Motown, there was another sound in Detroit. It was real hard rock. They're doing heavy music, and that they're doing loud music, and that they're doing teenage music. I mean, you know, it's about time we give the teenagers the radio back, you know, give it back to them, and give the stage back to the kids. And all Alice does is we just embellish it more than anybody else. We take it on stage and really work each song out so that we portray the song, you know. It just so happens that we're better at macabre or better than horror than anybody else, so that's what we really like to do.
What's in there to save her? She didn't even hear her baby call. Ha!
When I think of the name Alice Cooper, I think Baby Jane, Lizzie Borden, Alice Cooper. It has a certain rhythm to it. And I always picture some little girl standing there with a hatchet behind her back, some sweet little girl standing there with a, you know, that looks very innocent, but there's something very dangerous about her.
We're the extreme American group, you know, and so it fits perfectly. They expect a blonde folk singer.
What I learned was create this character, this Dr. Jekyll of rock and roll, and then play him, you know, and then walk away from it, and then put it on and play it and have fun with it. Alice is fun. Vince is okay, you know. Vince is all right to hang around with, but, you know, I mean, it's fun to have an alter ego to turn into every once in a while. You know, it's like if everybody had an Alice, there'd be no psychiatrist. You know, I get off stage and I'm just, you know, hi, everybody, how are you? Good to see you. But on stage, I mean, if anybody gets near me, it's, I treat Alice as a third person. You know, I refer it to Alice as Alice. We don't refer it to me, you know. So he's a separate character. We found it very hard to be normal. Our band was just always doing theatrical things naturally. We couldn't help it. Like, we'd get on stage and we couldn't just play. For some reason, we were all very visually oriented. And I don't think there was ever a time when we weren't theatrical. We were the first band that ever had hit records and a show that was banned, and a show that was beyond anything anybody had ever seen before. But when you have 12 or 13 hit records to back it up, suddenly it becomes a movement. Now, I think that what we did was we broke down that barrier. You know, we were the first ones that actually made theatrics commercial. So then Bowie came along after that, and Elton, you know, and Kiss way after that. But I mean, they came along with big records. Everybody embraced it. But before us, nobody had been able to do that. It's very, very possible to look at a show like this and forget the music. What they don't realize is if we took the music out of this show, it would be equivalent to a play. But when you see it with the music, when it's all backed up by this music and everybody on stage is dead serious about it, that's what makes it powerful. Because the audience is, they're not just there to be entertained. Alice has a love affair with the audience, but it's a pretty, to come here, and I've got you now, and they love that.
What does it say about the songs themselves if you strip away the presentation and the theatrics?
You put all the emphasis on the songwriting, which is something I've been pushing for years and years. But young bands come to me all the time, and they look great. And I said, great attitude, great look. I said, let me hear it. And I listen to it, and I go, okay, I just heard 4 minutes of you screaming at me. I know, I get it, you're angry, okay? Right. Angst, okay, I understand. But there's no song. What do you think got Alice here? It wasn't the image and the look. That was great, but people are going to hear School's Out. They're going to hear $1 Billion Babies, Poison, Only Women Bleed. They're going to hear 15 songs that they grew up with, you know? If you don't have those songs, if you don't have the cake, you can't put the icing on it. You guys have got all this icing. You need cake. You need the songs.
Telephone is ringing. You got me on the run. I'm driving in my car now. I got you under my wheels. I got you under my wheels.
When I moved to LA, the first people I met were the Doors, okay? So Jim Morrison saying, okay, I'm gonna teach you how to drink. All right, okay, there's my big brother. Okay, what bad influence was that immediately? Every one of my big brothers and sisters are dead from excess. Nobody ever goes into rock and roll and says, they start out with this, I want to be a big rock star. I want to grow my hair out. I want to get a beautiful trophy model wife. I want a Ferrari and a mansion, and I want to be an alcoholic, and I want to, wait a minute, run that by. Nobody says I want to be an alcoholic or drug addict. It just hits you from the side. You don't see it coming. Yeah, I don't think I would have even had my first beer if I would have known I was going to go through what I went through. It was great for 15 years. And then 1 year, it was hell. Because it owned me. I didn't own it. And I was getting up every morning and throwing up blood and trying to hide it, so I could keep touring and everything. And the next drink always made it a little bit better, If you just could get another drink, it would make it feel better. So yeah, I would have avoided alcohol as probably the worst drug there is.
I thought it was part of the image to be smashed all the time. And I realized that Alice performs better without it, really. Alice has got much more energy without the alcohol or without anything. So yeah, I'm totally straight. The only two drugs I take is adrenaline and NutraSweet. But I do a lot of NutraSweet. I pour it in my eye, everywhere. I like open wounds and pour NutraSweet in. I go, come on, get in there. The drug of my choice was whiskey. That was my poison. But it was more destructive to me than any drug could be because it was so available. I was a kid. When I moved to LA, the first people I met were the Doors, okay? So Jim Morrison saying, okay, I'm gonna teach you how to drink. All right, okay, there's my big brother. Okay, what bad influence was that immediately? So Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Keith Moon. I mean, every one of my big brothers and sisters are dead from excess. Jim Morrison died, and here came the new Excess band. And Alice was even more excessive. Alice wasn't subtle about it. Alice was a sledgehammer. It took me a while to even realize that I was using alcohol as medicine. I wasn't using it because I liked it anymore. I was drinking because it was a medicine. And that taught me something. It taught me that you don't have to live your character at all times.
How you gonna see me now? Please don't see me ugly, babe. 'Cause I know I let you down in so many ways.
I don't smoke, I don't drink. I haven't had a drink in 22 years. It's the reason I'm here right now. It's amazing. I think when you look at Bowie and you look at Iggy and these guys, you can see the guys that actually found a point in their life where they said, okay, look, I got to stop this if I want to continue. And they're still here.
Welcome to my nightmare. I think you're gonna like it. I think you're gonna feel right at home here.
Tonight when I go on stage, I'm going to be Alice, and I can't wait to be Alice. But during the day, I walk down Yonge Street, I go down Queen Street, I go to the movies, I do everything I want to do. People go, hey Alice, hey, how you doing? Good to see you, blah, blah, blah. Now tonight when they see me, they're going to go, that can't be the same guy that we talked to today. Because tonight I'm going to be this monster,
Well, you were saying in 72, it's a character.
It's a character. And all of us play the character. Honestly, I've known Iggy, I've known Jagger, all these people. And you talk to them and they're just like this, nicest people in the world. The minute they hit the stage, they're bigger than life, and that's another person.
So when does it end?
As soon as that audience is gone, as soon as you walk off the stage. There's no reason to be the character when you walk off the stage. As soon as I turn my head from the audience and walk off, I'm back to me again. But if you say, get back out there, you know, you turn right back into the character again. So it really is a form of schizophrenia. I mean, I'm one of the proud schizophrenics that can like say, hey, I'm a schizo and I love both of me, you know? And it's really true, I am totally schizo. When I get on stage, they totally turn into Alice.
Alice Cooper and I were pretty good pals in the 70s and still are. And Alice and I were successful around the same time during that period when he was kind of like the Prince of Darkness and I was like the Prince of Light. In truth, he was the straight guy playing golf.
I'm feeling real shut down and out. Feeling me singing no more Mr. Nice Guy. No more Mr. No more.
Alice is a character that I don't even know what he is.
Alice was always in satire.
I don't ever want the audience to know what Alice is, because I don't know what Alice is. He's a psychopath, I know that.
One thing that I miss is cold leather and a skeleton kiss. We met.
The reactions you get, this person will think it's funny, that person will be horrified, that person will think it's sexy. So if you bring like 20 images like that during a rock concert on stage, what you're really doing is attacking everybody's imagination, and you make them invent their own phobias. You know, you make them invent their own stories. At the end of a show, you ask 10 people what they saw, and they'll tell you 10 different things.
If you go to a concert, all you're going to see is a guitar solo and a drum solo. You know, and how far can that go? You know, you want to see something that you're going to go home and talk about and scare your parents with. You know, so if some 14-year-old boy goes home wearing eye makeup saying, hey, Alice Cooper wears it, why can't I wear it? And of course his parents are going to say,
Our thing is totally based on fantasy. You know, all the sickness that's up here that I bring onto stage is like, that's exactly what it is. It's just fantasy stuff.
Alice was always sort of like a magnet for everything that went wrong in America. And I was sort of the Frankenstein of America.
Are you a fan of horror movies?
I rent 4 a night. In fact, today I've got Shriek of the Mutilated.
Yeah, very good one.
I Eat Your Skin.
I Dismember Mama.
I Dismember Mama. You know, I consider a good horror movie a good comedy, usually. You know, any really good horror movie you laugh at.
Welcome to my nightmare. I think you're gonna like it.
I just think that there's a great marriage between rock and roll and horror. And we just happen to be specialized in that kind of psychodrama. But it's entertaining. It's a kind of entertaining psychodrama. It's not anything that you sit there and you go, oh, gee. You walk away from this show and you go, what did I just see?
$1,000,000 baby. Right, little monster. Baby, I adore you. Man or woman, live it good, love it like a baby.
We just saw an entire war on television. We just saw people getting blown up into the sky. Real people, real time, real blood, real death. Really hard to shock an audience by putting your head in a guillotine after that everybody knows is a trick.
People ask me how it feels to be ripped off. I don't feel ripped off. I think it's more like we opened a door, and I opened a Pandora's box, you know, for this kind of theatrics. And I think a lot of them have copied the look. A lot have copied music in some places, but nobody's ever captured the attitude. You see bands that are copying you, it's really a compliment, I think. You know, I still consider it a compliment when I see bands that say, wow, we got this directly from you. And if it weren't for you, we wouldn't be doing this. And I get that from bands that are major bands now all the time.
Alice Cooper. Nikki, you bring me this. We would like to have you here every day. We know you can't make it, but don't forget us. Here is a replica. Oh, that's thank you. Let's do one.
No more Mr. Nice Guy. Listen, I'm sick. I'm a
These are the parents of kids that were living with it 30 years ago.
I know.
So why are they still so shocked?
They're not.
No?
I think people pretend to be shocked. I think they really do. You know how to entertain the audience. But shock the audience? We just saw an entire war on television. We just saw people getting blown up into the sky. Real people, real time, real blood, real death. Really hard to shock an audience by putting your head in the guillotine after that everybody knows is a trick. Or bringing a boa constrictor out. Now, to me, it's pure entertainment. I've got that audience out there. I've got to give them 2 hours of pure entertainment. And if this is the means I do it by, the snake and all this, fine. But I really doubt if anybody's shocked. It's very hard to shock anybody anymore. You know, I mean, I can't compete with CNN when it comes to shocking. The news is more shocking than Alice. It's very, very hard to shock an audience. I think women shock an audience more than men do anyways. This whole thing with the Britney-Madonna kiss, headlines around the world. That was only shocking because it was such a big deal.
I didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal.
It was such a big deal, you know. But men, it's very hard for a man to shock an audience. I think people pretend to be shocked. We're shock-proof. Unless if Marilyn Manson goes on stage and cuts his arm off, for real. Okay, I'll give you that one. Okay, I'm shocked. You know, that's a one-time deal. That's pretty amazing. Marilyn is just as much a vaudevillian as I am. You know how to entertain the audience. We didn't know what was going to crawl through. We just wanted to break the door down so people could do theatrics. I mean, I think Marilyn Manson, I applaud him for doing a great show. I don't agree with anything that he says, but I applaud to the fact that he actually rehearses and does a great show. But I've made a point to say, you really want Satan as your buddy? Think about it. You know, you think that this guy is out to help you along? You know, I don't think so. You know, Marilyn Manson pretty much reinvented Alice Cooper for his time. Rob Zombie did, in a sense, reinvented another version of Alice Cooper.
I remember when I was talking to Alice Cooper and I was saying, like, see, this is what happens. So I was like, do you ever look out in the audience and wonder what you were doing to that, like, third grader? I was like, this is what happens. This is what happens to him. You ruined me.
Rob Zombie is one of my best friends. Rob and I could be brothers. We have the same sense of humor, you know, very easygoing. You know, we laugh at all the same things. I invited him to come on stage with me one time. And we're laughing backstage about this. And I go, okay, I got to go on. And I go on, and I'm Alice now. Now I'm this, you know, Mr. Hyde, you know. And he comes on at a certain point, and I look over, and it's not Rob anymore. Now it's Rob Zombie. And he's like this, and he's breathing fire pretty much, you know. And I go, jeez, you know. And he looked at me and he went, wow, I don't want to get too close. You realize that each one was now in their full character and not to be messed with.
He's a really good guy, and it's kind of like one of the few people you can call up for advice.
You know, he was rock history for having done it in the first place, right? And he was the only one that ever has been able to pull it off and do it, so it was really cool. I don't care about anybody else that sort of pulled off the makeup CD trip. I mean, he was like the first one that just went in that direction.
Every week, I'm sure you hear from some band somewhere. Alice, you know, without you,
you know, I hear that, and I don't take anything. I got to be really honest with you. I don't take anything seriously on that level. I mean, I take it personally. I take it as a great compliment that they like my writing. I write for Alice. I could go write for Celine Dion if somebody wanted me to. You know, if she said, write me a song, I'd write her a great song. I'd write her a song that would be certainly different from what she's doing.
you made the news wires yet again.
Oh, with the Celine Dion thing?
Yeah.
Well, here's the deal. I have a 10-year-old daughter that just discovered the Titanic, the movie, and Celine's playing Vegas. And she says, Daddy, you gotta take me to see Celine, because she's gonna do that song. She's 10, and she's watched the movie 50 times. She's, you know, she's in a little romantic period. So I said, okay. I said, I know Celine, we'll go. So, and I wanted to see what a $90 million show looked like. $90 million, you know. And so I sat there and there's a piano floating across the stage and I went, that's good, you know. Now the only thing about it is I appreciate Celine's voice. Her voice is like Eric Clapton's guitar. It's an instrument. Not crazy about her songs, but you can't knock the production of that show and you can't knock her voice. And this voice is just powerful. Her choice of music, I question, only for me. I mean, it's not my kind of music at all. So when people say Celine Dion is Alice's favorite singer, she's a friend of mine. And I think her voice is unbelievable. But, you know, she probably would find things about me she would change, and I would find things about her that would change.
And she said, "Baby, if you wanna be my lover, you better take me home. 'Cause it's a long, long way to paradise, and I'm still on my own." I told her that I live in Detroit City.
Anything that was written about me had to do with urban legend. It had a lot to do with what people wanted to believe about Alice. I'd say 80% of the things that I heard about Alice never happened. And the funny thing was, is the things that did happen, they never talked about, which were even worse. The rock and roll revival was the first time the chicken was ever thrown on stage, and the feathers.
The chicken was a great story. We were doing the Toronto Rock and Roll Revival with John Lennon and the Doors and everybody, and it was 70,000 people there, and it was the first big show we'd ever done. And at the end of the show, we always broke open a pillow, a white, you know, feather pillow. One white feather pillow was about half filled. Somebody in the audience threw a chicken up. They had the chicken in the audience, they threw it on stage. And I took it, and you know, I figured I was from Detroit. I'd never been on a farm in my life, you know. I figured it had wings, it had feathers. I'd just throw it back up and it would fly away.
And you know, that's pretty interesting when you look to one side of the stage and there's John Lennon, and you look to the other side and there's Jim Morrison. And they're watching the show going, what is going on? I mean, you know, there was like feathers and chickens, and they both dug it.
The next day in the paper was Alice Cooper rips chicken in half and drinks the blood and eats the chicken and all this stuff like this. From then on, the ASPCA, every show we do is like, you gonna kill chickens tonight?
Detroit City, and I played guitar in a hard rock and roll band. She asked me why the singer's name was Alice. I said, now listen, baby, you really wouldn't understand. And I said, baby, if you wanna be my lover, why don't you take me home? 'Cause it's a long, long way to paradise, and I'm still on my own.
Bob Dylan, I mean, that's another one. I didn't think Bob Dylan even knew I was alive. I had never met him, you know. And for him to call me his favorite writer, I was going, what? I mean, to this day, I still go, what?
Your cruel device, your blood like ice. One look could kill my pain, your thrill. I wanna love you, but I better not touch. I wanna hold you, but my senses tell me to stop. I wanna kiss you, but I want it too much. I wanna taste you, but your lips are venomous poison. You're poison running through my veins. You're poison.
We love Alice Cooper. I want to look like that.
He's a legend.
The greatest.
I wanna kiss you, but your lips are venomous poison. You're poison running through my veins. You're poison.
Well, we gotta get going.
No, stick around. Hang out with us.
Cool. Yeah, we'll stay and hang around with us. With Alice Cooper.
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
I take it as a great compliment to people like my writing. You need the songs. You know, it's the same thing with, look at the bands that are still here from that era, Bowie, Elton. Why? Well, look at the songs. It's not necessarily what they look like, it's the songs. And I really truly believe that that's 85, 90% of why we're still here. I was so complimented when Sinatra did one of my songs.
But you and me ain't no movie star. What we are is what we are.
Just the fact that somebody from that era reached down and said, hey, that's a great song. You know, I went, wow. You know, I didn't need the validation, but I really respect Frank Sinatra. And for him to pick that song out over all the millions of songs that have been written, I went, geez, that's amazing.
But still is a dream. The umbrella is okay.
What about validation from Bob Dylan?
And Bob Dylan, I mean, that's another one. I didn't think Bob Dylan even knew I was alive. I had never met him, you know. And for him to call me his favorite writer, I was going, what? I mean, to this day, I still go, what? You know, what would make him say that? Well, he listened to the lyrics, and it connected with him somehow.
Only women bleed. Only women bleed. Only women bleed. Only women bleed.
The ballads throughout the years, you never shied away from them.
There's a romantic side to Alice. If you're doing a song that's really a heavy song up there, you're doing Welcome to My Nightmare or Cold Ethel or something that's, you know, horrific. If you need to have a song that's going to offset it, you need an Only Women Bleed. That totally takes the audience by surprise. I mean, right after I bash Cold Ethel all over the stage and throw her behind me, this dummy, right after that, Only Women Bleed starts. And all of a sudden you see, Alice just changes. Because all of a sudden there's something in it. There's a new place we're going to with Alice now. All of a sudden, like, is he sorry? You know, is he hurt? Or is he, what's going on here with this? Because it's a really pretty song. And the audience they just go like that, you know.
Pushed too far, pulled too hard, deeply scarred. I know you must have felt the pain, but you took it like a woman.
There's always been a good ballad on every album. There's always been a romantic side that I like to give Alice on every album.
You took it like a woman.
Some things, I have to admit, I do cheat to the stage sometimes. I'll write a song that's totally directed to the stage. I'll be writing it, and I could use this word or this phrase, or I could use this phrase, which is going to totally put it on stage. And that's just my prerogative. There are certain songs that are not stage songs, and then there are certain songs that are obvious stage songs. I try to write at least 4 or 5 songs that are going to be totally stage songs. But some of them I do, yeah, I totally cheat to the stage. You know, I'll write a line that I know is going to happen up there on the stage. When I wrote Dwight Fry, you know, I said, oh, Straight Jacket on stage, are you kidding? Just a cold, claustrophobic light. After all this stuff going on, then it's just this one-on-one with the audience. I said, that's going to be so good. It's an anthem, a la School's Out, but I think it's got a little more serious message, you know, being about anti-suicide, teenage suicide. So that was the main point of it. It was to, you know, say that suicide's the stupidest thing I can think of, so let's not do it. You get to a point where everything gets so bleak that you need a little ray of light there. Every once in a while you want to say something. I think Alice is at its best when we're doing stories. And in this case, I thought that it was a shock that Alice would be saying this. But I think that's part of the shock of it. Think of it, when you were 12, 13, 14 years old, you didn't have probably heroin offered you every day with needles. You probably didn't have guns offered you. I'm talking about the States.
You didn't have AIDS, you know, as a problem. You know, I mean, these things are like incredibly, massively dangerous things that are all new temptations to this generation. I know I didn't have those temptations, and so I thought it was time to bring those things out as saying, look, this is a much more dangerous time to live. When Alice was at its scariest was when the world was a lot more innocent. It's all over. They're hopeless. They're gone. There's no hope. I don't really see it like that. I think that it's just a matter of, you know, finding it.
Why don't you come down to? It's such a brutal planet. It's such an ugly world. Why don't you come down to?
It should have a warning label on it. Don't let this happen to us.
It's such a brutal planet. It's such a living hell. It was a holy garden. That's right where Adam fell. Here's where the Bible's taken. Here's where we chose to sin.
I'm Alice Cooper. I mean, you know, I've seen everything. I've done everything. It boils down to me that we are in there are two entities battling for us, God and Satan. And I always warn people, if you think Satan is a concept, or if you think God is a concept, you're already lost. But I believe in a very true entity that's trying to pull you one way or another. I just see evidence of it everywhere. I think I've been very vocal about what I believe in. I'm Christian. You know, I personally believe that God cures everything. But here on Brutal Planet, I'm proposing the problem. I'm letting the audience ask the questions. What is the solution? Well, I mean, a theological argument will go on forever on what's the solution. I know my personal belief is that, you know, obedience to God and Christ is the solution. But I'm not going to say that on this album. I'm going to let the audience ask the questions. This is a huge question. And let the audience, you know, think about that. To me, sometimes it's not the answers, it's the questions that's important. I wrote Brutal Planet as something that might happen 50 years from now. The future, you know, not just America, the world future. And what, 2 months later, 4 months later, you know, 9/11 happens. So I didn't really expect that kind of thing to happen that soon, even though that's what I was talking about, you know. Then Dragontown came along, and we decided that Dragontown was going to take you deeper into Brutal Planet.
Yes, I'm on your side, sincerely. Don't you wish you had it all? Don't you deserve to have it all?
I used to scare people by what's under the couch or what's under the bed at night, what's in the closet. Now I think scaring them by saying, okay, we all know there's nothing in the closet, and we all know there's nothing under the bed, but what if you have a heaven and hell? And what if you're on the wrong side? So I present that problem. And in some cases, that's much more frightening than what's under the bed.
I can make your every dream come true. Just give me that, give me this, give me that, give me that, give me that, give me this, give me that, give me that, give me that, give me this, give me that, give me that, give me that, give me this. Tell me who's more important than you.
Every city has got a guns, gangs, and drugs problem. I don't care who it is. I live in Phoenix. We're the 5th biggest city. We have the 5th biggest problem. So I have a thing called Solid Rock Foundation, and we raise about $300,000 a year that goes directly to kids. And, you know, I mean, there are kids out there that just need an infusion of money when it comes to getting programs going, getting something to get them off the street, to get them away from guns, gangs, and drugs. To me, I've got kids. You know, I see the problems that they have. And I say, well, if they have problems in a really nice school, what's it like on the West Side, where these kids, just to get to school is a miracle without getting shot at. I've always had a certain compassion to help those kids out. I had a great childhood. I was in a band all my life, and it was great. So I always saw it from another side. I never had to live on the street, but I saw a lot of it. And I said, geez, there's got to be a way to help this, you know. And it was just some friends of mine in Phoenix, you know, a bunch of Christian guys that got together and said, let's not beat these kids over the head with the Bible. Let's just help them.
Is there something I can provide when you feel like life passed you by, I'm on your side. Give me that, give me this, give me that, give me this, give me that, give me this, give me that, give me that, give me this, give me that. Please don't ask me my name. Does it matter? I'm just here for you.
That's the problem, is I just don't age. I looked like this in 1972, I'll look like this in 30 years. And I'll be sitting here, and your son will be sitting there going, my dad interviewed you 30 years ago, remember? And I'm like, yeah, whatever happened to him?
It's such a brutal planet. It's such a living hell. It was a holy garden. That's right where Adam fell.
Brutal Planet, Dragontown, was a pretty huge project. It was like a Stephen King novel, you know, and it was asking all those big questions, the apocalyptic questions, the morality questions. Are you going to heaven, are you going to hell questions. I was really making people search their morality. What happens if you die and you go to hell and it's not getting high with Jim Morrison like you think it is? What happens if it's the worst toothache you've ever had for eternity? That was a good question to ask because everybody has to answer it honestly. I think that was the first time I'd scared an audience in a long time. And it was a scare that wasn't like a scare, it was one of those uneasy, long-lasting, kind of nagging questions. Because everybody does have to question their own morality. I like to bring that up and throw it in the face, but do it musically and make sure there's a great song wrapped around it. And then do it visually. But when that was over, it was done. That movie was over now. Now it's time to do a new movie.
Then I got stung right on the face. I screamed and ran around the place. It hurt like hell. I swore right up.
Somebody asked me recently, he said, what's the greatest thing that happened in 2003? I said, the emergence of garage rock. I said, that's the best musical thing that's happened because it's a direct response to American Idol and, you know, all this corporate rock that's been going on. The kids in the mall where I hang out are going, where's our rock and roll? The White Stripes and the Hives and the Vines and the Strokes are doing 1969 Detroit
This
rock.
goes right back.
Exactly. And I loved that. And I listened to these bands and I said, geez, they're playing what we did and the Stooges did and the MC5 did in 1969. I want to go back and make that record again. And that's where the Eyes of Alice Cooper came from.
When you touch me, when you hold me, when you kiss me, it's just like Novocaine.
It's amazing how many stations we've picked up with Novocaine. Everybody I've talked to now says, hey, this is a record we could play on the radio. You know, I haven't given them a lot of radio stuff in the last 15 years, really. This is one record now that has maybe 4 radio songs on it. Novocaine is like one of those songs that just jumps right on the radio. And it sounds good on the radio, too.
Is there still a black cloud next to your name with some of these program directors, though?
Well, the same way they think Ozzy. You know, I think there's probably some that will go, oh, I don't even know if I can say the name Alice Cooper. I don't know if I can say Ozzy. I think we're past that. I think if it's a good record, they're going to play it. I think that the only thing that really bothers me, and it's true, if you ask anybody that's a vintage artist, is that we don't get a chance. It bothers me the fact that if McCartney put his best album out right now, he'd never get played. If U2 came out right now, they'd never get signed because they'd be too old. Think of that. And so if I do my best album, I pretty much have to get it in my head I'm not going to get it played.
That really pisses me off.
That's kind of discouraging.
I go running in outer space. I'm 18 and I like it. Yes, I like it.
Alice Cooper doing 19 all these years later, it works.
It works because Alice is ageless. The character is. You know, 30 years from now, when I'm not doing this, I can't imagine why somebody wouldn't don the makeup and play Alice. To me, I've made Alice enough of an individual character that anybody could play him.
So if you're not going to be doing this in 30 years?
I probably will be. Let's see, that's the problem, is I just don't age. I looked like this in 1972, I'll look like this in 30 years. And I'll be sitting here, and your son will be sitting there going, my dad interviewed you 30 years ago, remember? And I'm like, yeah, whatever happened to him?